Just need to vent. 42 weeks pregnant and my parents suck. I 30F am 42 weeks pregnant and getting an induction tomorrow. TLDR. Immature parents with restricted contact are oscillating between being overbearing in my pregnancy and finding every excuse to do the bare minimum or nothing at all. To try and make a long story short, my parents who live out of state and I am low contact with mom and no contact with father are being weird and constantly oscillating between being absent and overly involved. While on a recent trip back home for my great-grandmother's funeral, my dad tried to get physically aggressive with my husband 30M while I was 5 months pregnant. The tipping point? We had a conversation about nutrition in the home while I was growing up, and I pointed out that everyone in our family is super morbidly obese, including myself, until I learned how to eat using a food scale and counting calories. The conversation turned vile and odd, and my dad kept dragging things out from my childhood to turn my husband against me. The whole day from the moment we got into their car at the airport, my parents were arguing over the stupidest things. Little underhanded comments, constant bickering about the traffic and GPS system in the car. My poor husband was so drained by the time lunch came around, and it was so obvious. After the knockdown drag-out fight my dad decided to instigate, he went outside. My husband informed my mom that we would be getting our own Airbnb and he was not going to stand by and watch his wife be denigrated and spoken down to love him like that. When my mom ran off to tell my dad we were leaving, my dad busted into our room and began wagging his finger in my face, trying to get me to go talk with him alone to berate me. No doubt. I said, "No, we can just leave, we're adults." And my husband asked him nicely to leave the room. My dad kept pushing his weird machismo ego into the worst spot and escalated it again to threatening physical violence. For reference, my husband is 30, former sergeant in 82nd Airborne and currently a working rancher and is in great shape. My dad is in his mid-60s. 350 pounds and on oxygen from interstitial lung disease. The absolute last thing my husband wanted was confrontation. I don't even remember how it ended despite being sat on the bed, but my dad ended up leaving. He convinced my mom to drive him home 1 HR away from where we were staying, and she begged us not to leave and that we could have a good weekend still and attend my grandmother's memorial together. We stayed, had a few hiccups with my mom's weirdo behavior because she is always lying and covering up for my dad and drinks way too much around her side of the family and treats every social gathering like a party instead of what it actually was, a funeral. But overall, nothing egregious happened. Fast forward to today, I am pretty low contact with my mom. I haven't spoken to my dad since. Good riddance. She acts like we are a lot closer than we really are. I was expected to deliver around 7/5/26, but my son has decided to take his sweet time. Because I am a small woman, my obgyn and I decided it would be best to induce tomorrow 7/19/26 to reduce risk of C-section or other complications. I had my induction scheduled at my last OB apt 7/3/26 and told my mom if she wanted to come out to the state I live in, it would be best to do so on or around 7/19/26, because regardless if he came earlier than that, he would definitely be coming on that day. My mom has been super involved the last couple days, texting me or calling every day to see if there's any changes. Every time I say, no, just planning on inducing, still. Finally, I confronted her and asked what she was planning for this trip. She sent a box full of baby items that I can tell came from the Dollar Tree, rattles, stuffies, etc., most of which were already falling apart and had to be thrown away because they were obviously choking hazards. Months back she told me she and her friend were going to get an Airbnb in town, and she was going to drive out, hell-bent on being there the day I went into labor. Today, however, it's everything is too much money. I didn't have enough time to ask for time off, and your dad wants to drive. My thoughts came to a screeching stop. Absolutely not. She then follows up with, don't worry, he knows you don't want to see or talk to him. I just sent back a text that said, no thanks. I am actually kind of seething. I just know they're gonna pull some sympathy crap, but he's our grandson excuse. I already made it clear that until my dad makes a formal apology to me and my husband, I want nothing to do with him. And on top of that, the excuses of time and money coming up short just seems off, because they had plenty of time and money to go back to see my dad's side of the family for his family reunion out-of-state trip plus 3 days vacation expenses. It's just really clear where the priorities are, and for my mom, who is a nurse making close to 6 figures a year, to have excuse after excuse as to why they are struggling is just crazy. My husband and I make a combined total of about $3,000 per month and still find ways to save and make things happen when they need to happen. And my mom is very manipulative. She is making it seem like it's my fault despite giving her all the information the moment I received it. She calls me crying every other day talking about how much she misses me and how we're just not as close as we used to be, and how I'm shutting her out of my pregnancy. I knew growing up that my parents were selfish, crazy and immature, but seeing it so clearly just hurts a lot right now, and I really don't have the energy for this right now. If you enjoyed that one, subscribe for a new story every single day.